Hi, I'm Aristotelis Pitaridis. In this video we are going to demonstrate how to use resource files in order to have multi-language contents in our application. Now that we've finished the routing and links of our site, let's start making our contents to be multi-language. Before we go and make changes to the contents of the page, let's make a test so that we will see a problem that our site has. We open the index view of the home controller and we add a new paragraph under the title, which will display the current date and time. Let's execute the application in order to see what's wrong with our localization. We will see that at the end of the date and time there is the PM, which defines if the time is before or after midday. This information should use the Greek way of displaying this information when we select the Greek language, but it does not happen. Let's try to fix this problem. We have to inform the system what is the current language, so that the information that the framework will create will use the language that the user has selected. We open the home controller and we go to the index action. We will write 2 lines of code which will inform the system what is the current culture for our page, for the current request. Let's run the application to see if now the application works as it's supposed to work. Now we can see that when we select the Greek language, the date and time appears in the correct format. In order to apply it to all the web pages, we have to write these 2 lines of code in every action of our page. So we copy-paste these lines of code. Let's remove the paragraph tag with the date time that we inserted in the index view. Now we will try to have our contents to be multi-language. In order to achieve it, we will have to use resource files. First, we will create a folder which will be used in order to store the resource files. We will give the name resources to the new folder. Now we will create one resource file for our application, but an application can have multiple resource files. In order to do it, we right-click the Resources folder and we select New Item from the Add sub-menu. The Add a New Item dialog box will appear on the screen. We click on the resource file. We give the name mytexts.resks to our resource file and we click the Add button. The new resource file will automatically open and we start typing the strings that we will use in our page. There are 3 columns. In the first column we will type the name of the content and in the second column we will type the value of the content. We are not going to use the third column. Let's add the values for the 3 options of the menu of the page. We type the name, home, and the value home. We type the name about and the value about. We type the name contact and the value contact. Before we continue, we'll have to change the access modifier at the top of the resources list so that it will contain the value public so that the values will be accessible by our code. Now, we open the layout.cs HTML file so that we will change our menu in order to get the texts from the resource files. We will start with the home text. We delete it and we type multilanguage.resources.mytexts Home. This is how we can access the resource values. First, we have the name of the project, which is multi-language. After that, we have the name resources, because this is the folder name that we created for the resources files. After that, we have the name of the resource file, which is my texts. And finally, we have the name of the resource that we want to display. We do the same thing with the words about and contact. Let's execute our application so that we will see if it works. As we can see, the application works and the values for the menu appear properly on the screen. The only problem is that we still do not have the Greek texts. For every extra language that we want to have in our site, we create a copy of the resource file with the same name, but we have to add the language code between the resource file name and the file extension. We do not want to type from the beginning our values, so we are going to copy the existing file. We select the mytexts.resx resource file and we select the command copy from the edit menu. Then we select the command paste from the edit menu and we will have a copy of the resource file. In order to rename it, we select and we click the F2 key from the keyboard and we type the name mytexts.el-gr.resx and we press the enter button in order to save the changes. The el-gr is the language code for the Greek language. Now we open the new resource file and we type the Greek texts for the menu options. Let's execute the application in order to see what we made. Now we can see that if we change the language so that we will have the Greek language selected, the menu options will be displayed in Greek. The same way we can translate the rest contents of the site, and we can create multiple resource files, one for each language that we have in our site in order to translate all the contents.